A very good afternoon on this Wednesday. Business Live with me, Darren McCaffrey. Thank you for your company. Well, with key members of the car industry meeting ministers in Westminster this afternoon to discuss the pace of phasing out new petrol and diesel-powered vehicles. The trouble the sector is in was laid bare also this afternoon by Ford announcing more than 4,000 job cuts in Europe, 800 of them here in the UK. Let's speak to our business and economics correspondent, Paul Kelso, who's in the studio with me. Paul, just talk us through this quite a sizable number of job losses.
It is. So it's 14% of Ford's European workforce, 4,000 jobs. They will fall most heavily, these cuts, in Germany, 2,900 jobs going in Germany, which already has a troubled industrial sector and a struggling economy. 300 across the rest of Europe, 800 jobs in the UK. They're not going to be on production lines. Dagenham and Ford's other plant, Halewood in Liverpool. They're going to be back of office, there going to be some in research and development. But what's driving these cuts, Ford says, is a combination of significant losses, weak demand for cars, particularly for the electric vehicles, which Ford, like every other manufacturer in Europe, is turning its attention to, a lack of government support for that transition and competition from China. So this speaks to specific issues at Ford, specific issues in Germany, but also the general cold wind of the reality of this energy transition blowing through the car industry.
And the car industry, as I alluded to there, is effectively, particularly in Europe, in quite a lot of trouble, isn't it? You know, we've seen a real slowdown, particularly for European cars outside of Europe, in addition to, obviously, what's happening internally. And, as you've rightly pointed out, we've got this meeting this afternoon with some of the manufacturers, particularly about electric vehicles, of which there are quite stringent targets that the industry needs to meet.
There's a couple of things. Internationally, you've got slowing demand for cars, European cars, in China, and you've got the competition from China with its cheaper electric vehicles. The specific problems for the UK industry around the targets for shifting towards a point at which there are no new petrol and diesel cars. The end point has moved around. Rishi Sunak pushed it to 2035. This government's brought it back to 2030. What didn't change and what really matters is what's called the Z mandate. That is how the proportion of electric cars that every manufacturer has to hit each year. That's 22% this year, goes up to 28% next year. And the manufacturers are saying they simply can't hit that because the demand is not there for electric vehicles. The price of cars isn't coming down fast enough for consumers. What manufacturers would like to see is a few things. They'd like to see either those targets loosened, eased, so they're more able to hit them, because of every car they sell that's outside those targets, they have a fine of £15,000. It's very heavy. The other thing I'd like to see, perhaps, is some incentives for consumers. So some kind of subsidy that would make it more attractive. And they are making that point in person with the Transport Secretary Louise Haigh and Jonathan Reynolds in Whitehall this afternoon.
Yeah, there's talking about kind of the removal, potentially, for example, of VAT on electric charging, for example, which could have been... But let's be honest about this. I was talking to that of Polestar this morning, big electric car manufacturer. But in the end, their cars start out at around 60,000. That's way out of the price range of lots of people.
It makes sense.
That's the top end of the market, but still...
Still, the comparable price, I haven't got the numbers off the top of my head, but the small family hatchback, there is a significant 5-figure premium for the electric version of that car. And interestingly, at this meeting, which has got the major manufacturers in the UK, Nissan, Stellantis, who make Citroën, Vauxhall and the like, both of whom have warned about the cost of making vehicles in the UK and have called for some more assistance to make this transition. But you've also got representatives of the charging industry in the room. And they, of course, don't want any backsliding on these targets.
Well, their entire business model depends on it, doesn't it?
It's based on it. But there is, at the moment, those prices for cars, they still make sense for the company car sector because they're incentivised. There are tax advantages, and fleet sales have been driving electric vehicle moves. There aren't the same incentives for private cars, and that's where the problem lies. We have had some words from the Department of Business. Jonathan Reynolds is part of this. On Ford, they're saying we've asked the company to urgently share their full plan. No suggestion the government wants to or indeed can do anything about these job losses. And on the wider round table around the auto industry, they recognise the global challenges, and that's why they're getting round the table to discuss how we can help. But the issue here is until there's some material changes, the car industry is going to struggle to sell those cars. The market isn't supporting the transition, and you cannot will the ends without willing the means.
Incentivising it, yeah.
For us to get there.
OK, Paul, great stuff, as always. Paul Kelso, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Now, today's higher-than-expected inflation figures are another example of the sort of economic headwinds UK companies are going to be buffeted by as we head into the next year. Stubborn interest rates, reluctant growth and increased tax costs will all continue to contribute for a turbulent time for British business. But one famous brand is looking to buck that trend. Of course, talking about HMV, let's speak to Doug Putman. He is the owner of HMV. Doug, very good afternoon to you. And
good afternoon.
What we're talking about with you is HMV, which is normally associated with records and DVDs, now selling books, and quite a lot of them.
Yes, it's a great fit for our customer. Obviously, vinyl and music has done really well. And what we found is our customer definitely wants more book. And so we've created this fantastic book room on our Oxford Street third floor. So the whole floor is dedicated to books.
And Doug, you say here that you think customers want books. I thought kind of we'd all moved on from that in the sense that, Amazon online business is where Amazon started from, didn't it, selling books? But clearly the high street in terms of book selling remains pretty resilient.
It is. It's doing well. And I think, there's a case here where people are getting tired of the algorithm telling them what book they'll like or what to read or what to do. And so coming into a curated section with knowledgeable staff, with people who are book lovers, I think is really exciting for a lot of customers.
It is exciting. Is that what you think kind of outwins the online competition, the ability to kind of browse rounds and actually physically hold the books, flick through them, see what you like?
Yeah, and 100%. I think we see that with vinyl, where people want to see it and they want to be around like-minded people. And so I think book follows that exact same trend where you want to touch it, feel it. You like talking about it and getting recommendations on what other books to read.
Let's talk about the wider economy if we can just for a second. We've seen inflation go up today. We know taxes on businesses like yours are going to go up. Minimum wage for people who work in your stores potentially going to go up too. How resilient are you as a business to that?
Well, I think it's really tough. I think the government's making it very hard on what I'll call small, medium businesses. And, I read an article where there was, the government insinuated just, take it from your profits or get more efficient. And I kind of laugh saying, I've never seen a government be efficient at anything. And so for them to tell business owners to be efficient, really, I have to shake my head. There's only so much businesses can do to be efficient. And, for me, I want my staff to do well. I want them love working here, and I want them to make a fair wage and a living wage. But I just think the burden is getting higher and higher, and I haven't seen the government become any more efficient over the years. And they want us to foot the majority of the bill, and that's just going to be a problem.
So, Doug, what's your message then, in essence? I mean, taxes have to be paid. The government argue they need to support public services. Are you saying that this might mean you employ fewer people? That, how much of a strain is this on your business, these increased taxes?
Well, this for us this is a seven-figure strain. So it's not a small amount of money. And so, my message to the government is I think they've missed this a little bit. Find ways to tax the people doing exceptionally well, like Meta and Facebook, like Google, like Amazon, people who are sheltering their money. I'm here. I pay my taxes. I never try and hide anything. I don't shelter my funds. And so I feel like, for a lot of this mid-size and smaller businesses, we're taking on a larger percentage of the burden. For HMV, seven figures is a massive amount of money. And so I think it's just they've got to really reflect on this because, I think you are going to see less employment, and I think you're going to see a lot less expansion. You need to incentivize entrepreneurs You need to incentivize business owners, and you want growth and you want more stores opening, but it's just not advantageous at this time to do it.
Okay, and just finally, Doug, you are on Oxford Street, an iconic street, Britain's most famous shopping street, and there's talk about lots of changes. We'll not get into that, but what we'll get into is Christmas, of course, which is coming up, the most important period of the year, I'm sure, for your business and others. HMV has had a difficult past, I think it's fair to say. Have people talked down the death of the high street too much, do you think, I suppose is my question?
Yeah, I do. I think if you come to our Oxford Street store, you'll see it's packed with people, and people are spending. Obviously, it's the most important 5 weeks of the year. There'll be a lot of nail biting, but Christmas is going to come in. I think it's going to be a good Christmas. But yeah, I think Oxford Street itself is reviving slowly. I think we're here to help that. But I would say the high streets are going to do fine. People do want to come in. They want to touch and feel. So I feel really confident in the future of the high street.
Okay, Doug, appreciate it. Hope the book selling goes well. That's Doug Putman there, the owner of HMV, live for us on Oxford Street. Thanks, Doug. Now, earlier we were discussing, of course, the issues at Ford, which has just announced those significant job cuts this afternoon. But one car maker that's already embracing an all-electric future is Jaguar. It has ditched the famous Growler grille badge and has relaunched its brand, complete with an advert that neither shows how many cars or indeed mentions them at all. Let's have a look. Now, would you know that's associated with cars? I mean, we all know the brand, but no cars in sight. Let's speak to Kevin Gaskell. He is a former managing director of Porsche, Lamborghini and BMW. Very good afternoon to you, Kevin. First of all, it's been pretty controversial, I think it's fair to say, or quite emotive, at least online. People seem to have lots of views on that advertisement. What's your view?
I mean, my view is that the automotive world is going through such significant change that you need to find a way to stand out from the crowd. And Jaguar's got a fantastic heritage and they've had wonderful cars, but they're looking to the future and they need to transition to electric vehicles. They need to appeal to a different audience who may not actually be that interested in the vehicle, but want to associate themselves with a brand. So I think they're being very brave, but I think it's a very positive move. But now they have to follow it up with a product strategy and products that fit with those brave words that they're using and saying.
Is it brave? Some people will say it's a bit foolhardy in the sense that it is an incredible brand. A lot of people really, really like it, but they like it because of how it is.
Yes, and that's fair to say. The heritage of Jaguar is very important, but we're looking to the future. And Jaguar are thinking about how do they appeal to an audience going forwards, and what is it that audience wants? And the audience wants to associate with vivid colors, with fresh ideas, with fresh energy. And Jaguar are taking a step forward. But I repeat the point: they're going to have to back up this idea with a product strategy that suits. And sometimes you can say that the brave idea, the fresh idea, really does set the way. And when Jaguar came out with their last big saloon car, a lot of people looked at it and said, "Wow, that's a bit different." But it's there and it sells. It sells well. So I think it's
what you're trying to say.
Start.
Yeah, what you're trying to say, Kevin, I suppose, is the proof's in the pudding, i.e. if they make good cars that people want to drive, irrespective of the advertising campaign, it'll still work.
Yes, it will. But young buyers of today want to associate with a wider brand value than simply fast cars. They want to consider other issues, and manufacturers are trying to find different ways to appeal to that new audience.
It is fascinating. I was actually reading that Jaguar effectively only want to retain 15% of essentially the people who currently buy their cars. Is this, when you say looking to the future, let's kind of spell it out, are you saying they want to dump lots of the old male drivers who might be associated with Jaguar at the moment in order to attract those younger, maybe more diverse drivers?
Well, I think ideally they'll want to keep both, but you can't just appeal to the long-serving, the long-driving Jaguar owner. You need to appeal to the younger audience, to a broader audience. And I think that's what they're setting out to do. Now, of course, will it work? I don't know. I think it's a very interesting experiment. I think the fact we're speaking about it now is raising the profile of Jaguar, which can only be a good thing for Jaguar. So I wish them every success with it.
OK, I mean, you know, all publicity is good publicity, I suppose, in that sense, isn't it? We played out the advertisement, it's much talked about. Just finally in this, you know, there will be some people online who'll go, you know, go woke, go broke, if you like, and that's what they suggest the company is doing, and that they will come back to regret this decision. What would you say to those people who are very much animated online about that?
I don't think it's woke as such. I think they're showing a range of people, they're showing a range of colours, they're trying to use values which are aspirational. I repeat the point, they're going to have to follow that up with a product that appeals to that broader audience. OK, and just sorry, Kevin, very quickly while I've got you, Ford's announcement today, the car industry in general, it does seem like it's in a spot of bother. Oh, it's in huge difficulty. I mean, transitioning from 120 years of internal combustion engine to EVs, electrical vehicles, is a massive transition. And, you know, the political environment is anything but stable at the moment. And now we're speaking about tariffs. That's throwing the manufacturers into all kinds of planning and replanning and considering just how they survive for the future. OK. Kevin, great insight. Thank you very much indeed. Kevin Gaskell there joining us down the line from Central London. Thank you, Kevin. OK, you're watching Business Live. Coming up in just a couple of minutes after the break, as the Defence Secretary announces plans to modernise the military, we'll be speaking to the AI drone makers being funded by NATO to develop new technology. Stay tuned for that.
I'm Adam Parsons, Sky's Europe correspondent based here in Brussels. I've witnessed migration across Europe close up.
I'm James Matthews and I'm Sky's US correspondent based here in Washington, D.C. Mr. Musk, has your ignorance and ego cost Ukrainian lives? Free, wherever you get your news.
I'm Ivor Bennett, Sky's Moscow correspondent.
Why do you support Vladimir Putin, Mr. Segal?
I'm Conor Gillis, Sky's Scotland correspondent. Sky News, the full story first.
Welcome to the world.
Our new podcast, starting now. It's very exciting. Every week, we'll be reporting from the world's trouble spots.
We get to hold those in positions of power accountable, and we get to ask the questions that the audience, the listeners, want to know about.
And that's why it is so important that people tune in, come along for the road, come along for the journey. It'll be fun.
I'm Stuart Ramsey, and I'm Sky's chief correspondent. Free wherever you get your news.
I'm Mark Stone, and I'm Sky's correspondent based here in Washington, D.C. Sky News, get the full story first.
I'm Katie Spencer, and I'm Sky News' arts and entertainment correspondent.
I'm Lisa Dowd, and I'm one of Sky's Midlands correspondents. The reason I do this job is because you never know where it's going to lead.
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
We've got your Sunday mornings covered. From the front page and the sounds of the streets to the voices of the people who make the major calls and big picture politics beyond Westminster. We'll put you at the heart of our story. A new start to Sunday. I'm ready. Are you? Join me, Trevor Phillips, Sunday mornings on Sky News.
Play Sky News.
From the Sky News Centre at 7.
Now that you're up to date, we can go into a bit more detail.
Things can change incredibly quickly.
Taken by surprise.
Have you ever known a moment like this in British politics before? Yes. Cheers.
We'll start with breaking news.
Let's get the latest on the ground.
So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better.
Very good afternoon and welcome back to Business Live. Well, in the Commons, we heard from the Defence Secretary just a couple of hours ago, John Healey, on modernising and streamlining the military whilst cutting costs. There's another sign, of course, of the changing nature of the defence industry. Our next guest is hoping to be at the vanguard of changing military landscape. That is Ricardo Mendes. He is the Chief Executive of TechEver, which is a leading manufacturer, I think it's fair to say, of AI drone machines. Very good afternoon to you, Ricardo. You've just received, I think, 70 million euros worth of funding from NATO's Innovation Fund. Just talk us through that.
So we've decided to raise a round of capital to support growth, and we have Baillie Gifford. It's a Scottish fund, very old fund, very long-term views to support us. And joining the round was a number of excellent investors like the NATO Innovation Fund, which was just created at the beginning of the year, a $1 billion fund to invest in deep tech, and backed by 24 of the NATO allies. NSIF, the UK's National Strategic Investment Fund, and a Silicon Valley Fund. And basically the goal of the round is to support growth globally, but in the UK as well.
And when you say growth, when we talk about AIs, what are we talking about here? Where are these AI drones used? Who do you manufacture and supply?
So we provide our customers in multiple sectors. So we work in defense and security, in the corporate world as well. But to all of them, what we help them do is real-time intelligence over very wide areas. And to do that, you basically need an AI-centric system. So it's all about autonomy, about intelligence, about making decisions and being able to operate even in very tough environments. It's about future-proofing, so constantly evolving, and the cycles of technology and innovation in these areas are tremendous. You feel it looking at your cell phone or looking at the evolution of ChatGPT and so forward. And obviously in our area particularly, everything is hardware enabled because you basically need to fly sensors to where to the areas that need to be observed. So basically, this is what we do. We produce it at scale, and we deliver it globally to defense, security, and industrial companies.
And it might feel slightly trite in some ways to say this, but this is fundamentally the future. It's not even the future, it's the present of warfare, isn't it?
It's absolutely the present. So I think looking at Ukraine, it's what we've been seeing, and it's what needs to happen in the next few years from a technology point of view, because we live in a world where computing, connectivity, and AI is at the center of every product. And so in these areas, in defense and aerospace and security, that's true as well. And so all equipment, all capabilities need to be based on these concepts, and that's the present. It's not the future. It's where we are.
And it's, I talked about warfare there, but there is also other things that you guys do. Just briefly talk us through what they are.
No, absolutely. So when you look at the capability that this type of technology unlocks, it can be used in a very wide set of domains. It's very visible, the defense environment, obviously, because of where we are as a society. But we use it across multiple areas. We use it to do maritime surveillance. We use it to protect oceans against pollution, for example, to protect nature.
Yep. Ricardo, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you. That's it from Business Live from me today. Back, of course, at 11:30 tomorrow. Mark Austin is up next.
this conflict.
They keep telling us that they want aid.
And this is what's left of it.
Tanks, heavy vehicle.
Why only in America?
People want their country to work.
You want a job in a normal life.
Why are these homes empty?
I want you to be honest with people.
That has happened within minutes.
Sky News, the full story first. Free wherever you get your news.
We arrive. A secret hospital hidden in the Myanmar jungle, treating the victims of this bloody war.
This is Myanmar today. It's